Hello, BookTube. It's Tuesday. And what would Tuesday be on BookTube without a book tag? I'm trying to get back in the swing of making videos here, and so I thought I would do a tag today. And I found one that I want to do. It was created by Sophia's Thoughts, and I'll leave a link to her channel. And I saw it on Brian's channel, Bookish, just today on Tag Tuesday. It's the Reading Taste tag. And Brian didn't tag me because he hates me, because I smell. But I want to do it anyway for one main reason. I want to do it for a reason that Brian touches on in his own video. I'll leave a link to his video down below, which is that although these are familiar questions, they are assembled in new ways, and that's important because we all have to remember a point I've made before, which is that new people are finding our channels all the time. So tags like this that cover familiar ground aren't covering familiar ground for everybody. You're introducing yourself in practically every video to somebody new. So giving parameters so that people don't have to go spelunking through your back catalog of videos is always a good idea. And this tag largely does that by just giving a lay of the land for what kind of a reader you are. I like it, so I thought we'd dig right in. Some of these answers will be familiar to those of you who've been around here, but a lot of stuff will be familiar to you if you've been around this channel for 3,000 videos. So prompt number one is, what is your favorite genre? For me, that is biography. Prompt number two is, what is the most difficult genre for you to read? There aren't any that are difficult for me to read in terms of complexity. I don't read any hard science because it would go right over my head, but I read a lot of, for instance, popular accounts of hard science where an attempt is made to talk down to me. That's always nice. Every once in a while I will read a work of abstruse philosophy or something like that pushes me, but only because such books are written to be incomprehensible, not because there's anything wrong with me. Really, the genre that's most difficult for me to read is religious memoir. I read a religious memoir almost every day for review outlets, various review outlets far and wide, and a lot of them take the wrong approach. Plain and simple. I know I always say there's everybody's got books to write, and they do, but you have to sit back and think for a minute too. You can't just write whatever you like, or you can, but you can't expect a reviewer to like it if you do. And a lot of them take the wrong approach. If you're going to do a faith memoir, I want to hear all about it. I am an enthusiastic and supportive member of your target audience. But if your faith memoir involves telling me that your faith is ontologically, factually provable, well, then you're not talking about a faith memoir. You're talking about how dumb your audience is, right? If your faith memoir is going on and on about how much it lifts you up, how much it supports you, how much it fills your days with meaning and purpose, and then on page 35, you start talking about how the Earth is 6,000 years old, and all recorded science, duplicated science, provable, testable science is all wrong. Well, then you're not doing a faith memoir anymore. You're calling me and millions of other people idiots. You're calling observable reality wrong. And that's when your faith memoir goes off the rails. And those are hard to read because when I read them, I'm only reading them to review them. And I want to be generous. I want to be gentle. And I can't be when an author does that. If you tell me that all life on Earth came from breeding pairs on a wooden boat, captained by an 800-year-old man in a worldwide flood that never happened, then if your faith is really based on those things, on obvious mythology being true, then your faith is flybone. It's really weak. It's something you should be hiding, not writing a book about. Your faith should be built on other things. And I've seen faiths built on those. Built on structures more sound than cathedrals and more soothing than the greatest hymn ever made. But not telling me that every koala on Earth came from a male and female koala on a wooden boat 4,000 years ago. If you tell me that, you're strayed from the path, says the God Emperor of Doom. So that might be the hardest one, and that's on my mind only because I have to do that every day. Question number three is, what is your preferred age range? 18 to 25. Question number 4 is, are you character-driven or plot-driven as a reader? I'm plot-driven. I like well-crafted characters, absolutely. I sort of need them. But if the book has holes in it, if the book doesn't work at all, then I'm going to be too distracted to care much about well-crafted characters, and that's not good. Question number 5, do you have a preferred perspective? Well, the perspective with which I go through life is first-person omniscient. Question number 6, do you have a preferred tense? I loved the logic chopping that Brian at Bookish did. He was almost Jesuitical, where he said, well, it's not possible to write a book in the future tense. The Vulcan Science Academy has declared that time travel is impossible. And I don't think it's really possible to write a book in the present tense, because you'd constantly be using the past tense for parts of it. So therefore, I've concluded there is only one tense to write, and that's the past tense. I think I'd probably agree with that. Doesn't sound like I have a way not to. Question number 7 is, do you like series or standalone books best? I like standalone books best, because every book, even the books in series, should be. There are plenty of books in series that aren't, that I still love, where the book functions as a chapter and doesn't catch you up, never puts you on even footing at the beginning, and then you're supposed to be at the end. I view that as a fault on the part of the author. But there are some that are so good that I'm willing to forgive it, but I mainly prefer a book that has a discrete story to tell. Question number 8, which would you rather, long or short books? The longer the better for me. And that's not pedantry, believe it or not. That's a function of an oddity of my reading life. I do nothing but read and take care of my little Frida. I do nothing but read all day long. I know a lot of my fellow book critics say that they split their time between reading and writing, but I am the fastest gun east of the Pecos, so when it comes time for me to write, I don't require a whole lot of time. When I sit down to start writing, unless I'm mightily distracted, I don't need much time. So most of my time is spent reading. And as a result of that, I read very fast. I don't sub-vocalize, I don't distract myself, I don't get up and wander around, I don't eat or slurp soup or whatever. So I read very, very fast. And that is great. It's certainly great for my profession. But it eliminates, in most ordinary cases, it eliminates one of the joys of reading that all the rest of you, that most readers have, that I don't have, which is the feeling of being lost in a book. I don't have that. You don't get that feeling when you're catapulting through the thing. Except if the book is really long. If the book is really long, then I do get that feeling, and it's wonderful. I love that feeling as much as anybody does. So if an author can carry off a very long book, which is a skill on its own, it doesn't have any direct connection with how big a story you have to tell either. You could have the biggest story to tell in the world, and if you don't have the ability to carry off an 1,100-page book, that big story is still going to feel terrible. Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard, a perfect example. There is a story there. If you took it back to your workshop and worked on it, you could make a story out of the bare bones of that book that would be worth its length. But the story that it has now is not. Whereas someone like Brandon Sanderson, for instance, has mastered the knack of writing very long books that don't feel very long. So if the author has mastered that knack, then that's what I prefer. Question number 9 is, which format do you like best? We have people answering this question all over the map. Are audiobooks more convenient? Do you like paperbacks? Hardcover's a little too bulky for you? And nowhere the mention of the despised stepsister, the ebook. My favorite form is the ebook. Effortlessly, easily it is. An ebook on a fully charged featherweight slab of metal and plastic, of metal and glass. What could be more convenient? What could be more user-friendly? What could be more elegant? When I sold these things, the last time I worked in a retail bookstore a long time ago, I sold the e-reader that Barnes & Noble made, and I had lots of these conversations with people. I had customers tell me, well, I don't like the fact that it has to be charged. I mean, what if I'm not near a charge? And I said, well, when's the last time you read a book when you weren't within arm's reach of a socket in the wall? And I've had people say, well, what if I go on vacation? And I said, okay, when's the last time you vacationed when you weren't within arm's reach of a socket in the wall? And I've had some people say to me, well, what if I go on vacation for 4 weeks in the Sahara? And then I said, okay, then you should probably pack a book. Like, you're going to feel like reading. But I've also had people say, well, what if I'm reading and suddenly the electricity goes out? And I say, well, then you wait a bit and your device will have a charge. And I've had people come back to me and say, well, what if the electrical grid goes down forever? And at which point I was free to lower the Gandalf eyebrows and look at them and say, okay, let's talk about what you're talking about here, because you just said you're not going to buy this device or try e-reading because you're worried that the aliens will take out the electrical grid and it'll be gone forever and you'll be scrounging around in the ruins in a post-apocalyptic world. And that's your reason for not buying an e-reader or trying ebooks. And I've never had a customer at that point who wasn't a little abashed, wasn't willing to admit what they were doing. I was never that way. I remember early demonstrations of ebooks a long time ago. The Rocket Book from MIT that was a prototypical thing, and I saw the promise in it and thought, if you make that work, if a penis mightier works, I'll buy a dozen of them. Not a fan of the ladies, are you, Trebek? I saw those schematics in Scientific American and whatnot. Thought, if you can make that work, I will do it. And they didn't work, and a lot of the original versions of ebooks didn't work, of e-readers didn't either. But now they do. Now it's amazing. I have been trafficking in more ebooks in 2020 than ever before. Just this morning, I was reading an ebook and happily annotating it, just throughout annotating it, at length, with thoughts, with observations, with prompts for the review that I'm going to write. So I would get to a portion and say, and just be typing with 3 fingers while I'm looking at it, thinking, here's a point you want to make, here's a good one-liner you want to try out. And then when I'm done, I just email all of those annotations to my email. Without the text of the book, just the annotations and the page numbers. Quite apart from anything else, as a reader, as a reviewer, that is just a gift from the heavens. So my favorite form would be ebooks. And question number 10, what are you currently reading? I have some examples here that I want to show you. They are not things that I'm, for the most part, currently reading. I tend to read things, not just am reading them. I tend to start them and then finish them without interruption. But there are 3 here that I want to show you that I am going to read this week and grapple with. The first one is by Heather Clark. This is Red Comet, the short life and blazing art of Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath is an author I have never got along with. Her prose, her poetry, her story, I've never got along with it. It's never moved me or evoked any emotions in me the way that it does with so many people. But I have a fantastic feeling about this book. I have a feeling this book not only is going to change that in me, but that it's going to cause a massive conversation in the critical world, which I've mentioned on this channel before is the main reason why I'm in it. I'm not in it for the money. The main reason I'm in it is for that critical conversation. And I think everybody is going to write about this thing, and I'm going to write about this thing, so I will be grappling with it, and it will no doubt send me back to all the writings of Sylvia Plath that I can get my hands on. I'd especially like, I'll do all of the the usual stuff, but I'd especially like, there was a big collection of letters years ago that I remember kind of liking, and I'd love to get my hands on that. I'll see what the Brattle has. Then the next one is Shirley Jackson, and this is a new Library of America volume that I think comes out in a month. This is novels from the 1940s and 1950s. So you have The Road Through the Wall, Hangusman, The Bird's Nest, and The Sundial. And all of those were individual Black Spine Penguin classics that we will probably get to in our Daily Penguin tour. And here they are in one Library of America volume. Library of America appears to be set on doing all of Shirley Jackson, and that's great. These are slim novels. They are often called psychological novels. There are a couple of them, Bird's Nest especially, that I just didn't know what to make of it. I recognized that it was well, intelligently crafted, but I didn't know what to do with it at all. And I'm wondering if I'm going to have that same reaction, so I will be digging into these. I won't be doing this as one book, because these weren't written that way. So I will read, Hangusman, and then I will leave it. I'll put Hangusman down and leave it, go read something else, then come back and read this. I did that with the one of the latest Library of America volumes on the Western. Rather than just plow through them all, I interspersed them. And then one more. I'll do one more. These aren't things that I'm reading right at the moment because I finished my book this morning. So I'll be digging into these today or this week. And this is by Richard Evans, the great historian Richard Evans, the great Third Reich historian Richard Evans. And this is the Hitler conspiracies, the protocols, the stab in the back, the Reichstag fire, Rudolf Hess, and the escape from the bunker. And those of you who know your Hitleriana will recognize a thread running through those things. They won't be the only focus in this book, I'm sure, but they'll be the main focus. These are major conspiracy theories. Did Hitler know about the Reichstag fire ahead of time? Did he orchestrate it as a gelling catastrophe to allow him to hand his way to power, for instance? The stab in the back refers to, among other things, the defeat of the German army in World War I. Where they would have been victorious had they not been stabbed in the back. And you can guess the main identity of the stabber in the back. Totally contrary to Hitler's own lived experience, and certainly contrary to all of the living generals, like Hindenburg and Ludendorff, who were commanding in World War I. They knew perfectly well they weren't stabbed in the back. They knew perfectly well they never had a chance to win. But nevertheless, the conspiracy blossomed. And the same thing with the protocols. That refers to the protocols of the Elders of Zion. And the conspiracy there will be Evans writing about the history of that weird thing, that weird noxious thing that just has a replicating life of its own. And of course, the escape from the bunker. A semi-reputable historian and documentarian actually wrote a book called Grey Wolf, I think it was called, in which he makes a full-throated argument that Hitler escaped from Berlin hours before the Russians took the Chancellery Building, got to the Chancellery Building, that there was a strip of road in Berlin that was well known as a makeshift landing and takeoff strip, and that there were pilots, and that there were body doubles, and that the escape was planned, and that it was effective. I'm always fascinated by conspiracy theories. You all know that about me. I always find it fascinating reading about the bunker conspiracy in particular, because on the one hand, you have tons and tons of eyewitnesses, tons and tons of people in South America and along the way saying, yes, I saw this, yes, I know that it was Hitler, yes, he did, and that's sort of understandable. You can sort of write that off. But you also have the Russians claiming, the Russians are obviously lying about quite a bit of what they did and what they saw and what they confiscated in 1945 Berlin. And as a child of the Cold War, I don't trust them. In the Russians in this book, in that time period, I don't trust as far as I could throw them. But on the other hand, you have pretty much minute by minute eyewitness accounts of Hitler killing himself, shambling into a room from which there was no other exit, a gunshot immediately being overheard, people immediately going into the room with burnt gunpowder in the air and a dead body still trickling warm blood. It doesn't. The facts on the ground don't seem to leave much room for all of that to be staged and feigned. But one way or another, I have never read Evans write about any of these things in great detail. He's touched on a couple of them in his 3-volume history of the Third Reich, but this will be fun and provocative. I wonder what kind of reviewing it will get. I mean, Evans has a name, so maybe that will ensure it gets a wide review, but I don't know. I will certainly review it. And that is it. That is the reading taste tag. And all it's left to do is tag people. And I have a list of people that I want to tag here. I did the tried and true BookTube thing, because I feel I was only gone for the weekend, but I feel like I was gone for a long time from BookTube. And I periodically, like a lot of other people, I periodically like to do the BookTube newbie tag. I like to just type that into the search bar and see. Because we are joined, BookTube is joined by dozens and even hundreds of people every month. Now, who knows how many of those people are going to continue making videos? Who knows how many of them are going to catch the bug and really like it, find this enjoyable? Plenty of people do the BookTube newbie tag. Start out really well, name their channel, think up all sorts of things to do, and then just lose interest. Or their time evaporates. So you never know. you have no idea. If you were to go back to my earliest tags in 2016, you would see me tagging left, right, and center people who have been gone from BookTube for years. And I don't know if that'll be true here, but I did a quick BookTube newbie tag, watched a ton of videos. I'm not tagging everyone I watched, but I want to tag a few people. There's Christian from Lost in Discovery. I'll leave links to all these people down below. As far as I know, they all have relatively new channels. Minnie's Miscellanies, very sharp, very bright channel. Kit's World, hilarious. You get the feeling that Kit is a reader that you really would like just sitting down and talking books with. An Austistic Reader, who has a very good BookTube newbie tag, and in her background there's just one after another, a mouth-watering number of those gorgeous Penguin Classic hardcover editions like you see up under that plant there. And in addition to those newbies, I'll tag some oldies as well, like for instance Steve Partridge. Embittered, wizened old Steve Partridge. If you do the reading taste tag, Steve Partridge is very close. He's getting closer all the time to 1,000 subscribers, and that underscores my point that every bit closer you get to any milestone like that means you are talking to that many more new people. So a tag that gives a rough overview of what you like and don't like will be helpful. It'll be of interest to those people. We should all do these periodically. And I'll also tag the Bookish Bryants. They're a couple. I think their videos are just wonderful. You can watch them you can sense right away when you watch their videos the kind of on-the-fly, sass each other humor that must fill their days. That's just wonderful there. Now, I would say that they are BookTube's most charming married couple. But perhaps that distinction lies with me and my final taggee, Britta Bowler. Because, of course, there is a rumor on Reddit that Britta and I are married. And if you read it on Reddit, it must be true. Anyway, I will leave links to all of those down below, and that is my Tag Tuesday. We have lots of other stuff to talk about, but I honestly don't think I can make any more videos today. I will if I can, but if I can't, we will just have to cover ground tomorrow. We have my 7.7 Q&A, lots and lots of great questions, so I want to get to those. But we also have to talk about Preptober, right? This is Tuesday and Thursday is October, and I haven't mentioned, I haven't met a peep. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about are still involved. I am drafting all of you. November is NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, where you write 50,000 words of a novel in 1 month. 1,667 words a day. And you can't write anything before the stroke of midnight on the 1st of November. But you can plot and prepare and research and talk to your heart's content. And that's what October is for. NaNoWriMo people refer to October as Preptober, because that's when you can get so much of the work done that will make November possible. Believe you me, if you don't take advantage of getting that preliminary work done, you make NaNoWriMo 50 times harder. You make it 50 times more likely that you will stop rather than finish. And you don't want that. You want to do it. It's a tremendous, tremendous experience. So we have to come up with that. And by we, I mean me as well. I have no idea what I'm going to be writing for NaNoWriMo, but I need to know it in order to prepare for it. So we have to talk about that as well. But I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to stop at 3 videos today, and we'll just have to make up that ground tomorrow. So I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.